First part is to give the car a thorough rinse, get as much of the contaminants we can off the paintwork. Stage 2, we do a thorough wash of the car. Stage 3, we do what's called an iron removal. So we spray the car with a chemical that will remove all embedded pollutants, iron filings from the brakes, which end up embedding themselves into the paintwork and rust and cause discoloration and make the car feel very rough. From there, what we do is a clay bar, which is a physical decontamination of the paint. So we make sure we've got lots of soap, so not induce any marring on the paintwork, and we clay bar the entire car, including the glasswork. In this case, the glasswork was very heavily etched and had a lot of contaminants. The clay bar removed most of this. The final stage of the wash is to rinse the car down with 100% clean water, just so to remove any last bit of dirt and not contaminate the paint further with dirty tap water. From there we bring the car in on the jack, put the lights on it. We do one more alcohol wipe down, just in case there's still any waxes or coatings on the car that might not have come off during the wash period. This means we've got a better, cleaner surface when we polish so that we don't clog up the pads and do any damage while we're polishing. So before we commence any work on the car, we do a pre-inspection to then discuss the client what we've found. So on this edge of the door, she's bought this second hand, and the dealer's obviously had a go at polishing the car. So we've got lots of polish residue in all the cracks and crevices. In this section here we can see very heavy sanding where they've tried to get a defect out and then not refined. Same here, and very poor sanding and polishing in this section. As we go through the car, we see a lot of haziness, a lot of micro swirls, deep scratches, correction work that wasn't performed properly. Looks like rotary induced holograms all over the paintwork. Lots of micro swirling, pigtails, sanding marks, buffer marks from poor sanding, very poor rotary work. As we keep going around, and pick up some more holograms around this section. You see the movement. Lots of holograms around the boot section. Yeah, this car's in pretty bad shape. The client won't be happy. Deep scratches. More scratches. Micro marring. More scratches. Most of these, 80% of these will get out. They're not too deep. Lots of scratches along the door. Usual around the door handle from fingernails and rings. Then down here we have the PPF. Someone's hit a curb, so we'll replace that PPF and polish underneath first, obviously. And the rest of the car, pretty much the same. Lots of micro swirls, holograms, and buffer marks. So the next process is to try and work out how much paint we have to work with. Since this car's been polished, we're not sure how much they've removed and how safe it will be to polish. So we'll go around the car. So we've got a lot of variance in the paint, anywhere from 130 down to 76. We'll mark out all the low areas and make sure that we don't compound in those sections. We'll take a measurement of the door jambs. And normally if we subtract that from the panel, we know roughly how much clear coat we have. That's just a rough guide. So we've got probably 40 microns of clear coat to work with. We'll do this and take a map of the entire car and work out any sections where we think there's not much paint. Overall, we've got a pretty healthy amount. The other thing we do before we commence the car is we take some gloss measurements, measurements of logistic haze, R-spec figures, so we can show the client not only physically but also we can measure how much improvement we've made on the paint. These figures are very bad, logistic haze of 12.1, R-spec figures of 79, gloss levels of 91. We would improve these drastically. We would hope to get the logistic haze between 0 and 2. So it should be a dramatic difference once a client picks this car up. So we're doing a one-step and we're trying to determine what polish will be suitable and what we can get the most defects out for one-step polish, which is what the client has requested. Okay, well, let's have a look. So with the one step we've just done, we've definitely improved the gloss. We can see a lot more clarity on this side. This side's hazy and milky looking. So I would consider this an 80% improvement. Now, depending on the client's budget, if they require a two-step, we could get this to 95 to almost 100. With a one-step, that's a pretty good result for her budget. So we've taken out 80% of the micro swirls, which you see on this side, improved the clarity immensely, and removed most of the defects. Now, some of the worst sections we may need to compound as well, but that's the finish you'd expect with a one-stage polish. It's the area we haven't polished and the area with a one-step. So very milky, very hazy, lots of micro swirls, and we're looking at about an 80% improvement with a one-step. Now with our gloss meter, we've just taken more readings of the section we've done so that we can measure scientifically the improvement. So we see here the logistic haze before was in the 12s. We've got that down to 1.2, which means a lot more clarity in the paint. The R-spec figure's gone up slightly. This would probably improve with a two-stage, but still we've got an improvement.
Okay, so here we are in the interior of the car, and here I'm going to illustrate what we do to clean and coat the leather. So taking a look at this leather here, this is a pretty good example of a really dirty seat. So I can tell that from all the shine that's built up on the leather. Leather should be a nice matte colour. So what we're going to do is firstly just clean this leather. So this is our chemical here, which is a pH neutral solution. And what we're doing is we're just rubbing it in and creating a suds to lift up all of the dirt and grease from the leather. So we're just tickling the pores and getting all of that dirt out. Then we're just going to wipe off. And there you can see all the dirt that's just come off. That's what this cloth used to look like just before that pass there. Then we're just going to wipe off all the excess. And what we would do is we would repeat this process 3 to 4 times until the leather is back to its nice non-glossy state like it should be, and then we'll move on to coating. Okay, so here we are with the chair that we've cleaned already and is ready and prepped for coating. So a common question we always get asked is, why does your leather need to be coated, especially with cars that are worth $1 million plus? They say, why should my leather be coated? I have the best leather in the world in my car. The reason is that leather is an animal product, and it's the skin of an animal. So naturally, when it's on the animal, it has oils and fats nourishing it. But obviously, when you've killed the animal and it's on the car as a leather seat, there's nothing to nourish your leather. So that's where we'd get a product like this, which nourishes your leather, as well as makes your leather waterproof, so it's stain resistant and sweat doesn't go in. So how we would apply this is just putting it onto a cloth and wiping it in. And as you can see, just from that little spot that we've done there, it's really made the leather look much better. And you can already see how much this leather will like this nourishment. And then once we've done this, we would usually do this 2 or 3 times over the leather until we get a nice sheen over the whole thing to get a nice finish.